Welcome into the Solo Shot Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Dom Manna. Happy Solo Shot Saturday, everybody, or whenever you may be listening. I appreciate you for spending part of your week here with me. As you can see, not at the beautiful ETV studios this weekend. It's a holiday weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody out there who's enjoying themselves. A lot of great baseball and just a lot of great family time as we kind of wrap in the summer and get into both the school year for all the people that have kids or are in school, or football season for all of us football fans out there. I know I just had my fantasy football draft last weekend, and it's really starting to feel real with kickoff being next Thursday. We're up to 2,792 home runs on the Solo Shot Swag tracker, and it has been really fun keeping up with that. Despite there being 45 home runs yesterday, only 26 of them were solo shots. I'll highlight one of them on my TikTok after this at Solo Shot Sports. Before we get into the show, we have to talk about the most surprising, moment of the last week, and that is the Yankees and the Angels basically throwing in the towel. Now I'm going to start with the Yankees because that's where I left off last week's show. This is a team where there are high expectations. They have had consecutive winning seasons. They have been making the playoffs most years. A team that I chose to make the playoffs strictly for those factors. They are the evil empire. They are the New York Yankees. They will figure things out. They will spend the money and make the trades they need to get to the postseason. And this year has been an absolute mess for them. The final thing that kind of broke the camel's back was getting rid of Josh Donaldson, who was basically not on the team at this point. But the more surprising move was waiving center fielder Harrison Bader, who had been one of the bright spots on this team this year, before he hits free agency a month out, save some salary, and call up the young guns. So the Yankees did this because they see this as a not productive season, and they wanted to give the young kids a chance. So Jason Dominguez comes up, the number one prospect. Everyone knows about him from his time with the baseball card that sold for hundreds and thousands with the one of one at one time. The hype is finally real. He's in the big leagues. And what does he do in his first at bat? Hits a home run off of Justin Verlander. The hype is going to ride that for a couple weeks at least. No matter what he does, he's already in the Hall of Fame for a lot of people. So I think that Jason Dominguez is going to really look like the future of the Yankees, and they're kind of trying to distract the fan base from the fact that this season has been a complete failure. So having Jason Dominguez up there with Volpe and all these young players that they have called up and ready to go, they're just going to hope that this young core can make some strides and possibly give them a slightly winning record to end the season. They do not believe this team is a playoff team. Otherwise, Harrison Bader would still be on it. The Angels is a failure for multiple reasons. It's not just a failure because Shohei Ohtani has a partially torn UCL and Mike Trout goes right back on the IL when he finds that out. It is a failure because we knew from the start of the season that this team was not a guaranteed playoff team. They hadn't made the playoffs in many years, despite having the two best players in the game talent-wise. They went in this offseason, made some trades, spent some money, brought in some veterans to make that push, saying, if we want to keep Shohei here, we need to make the playoffs, and these are the guys that can help us do it. Those guys got traded, got hurt, and now they're at the deadline. I say that they should be thinking about selling Shohei Ohtani instead of just getting that one compensatory pick back when he signs somewhere else in the offseason. Get a haul for him now. The Angels go on a run right after the All-Star break. They're winning games. They made a couple small moves, bringing in Mike Moustakas and Eduardo Escobar, and they say, we can really do this. Let's trade for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez. And what happens? They waived 6 players, including Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, Matt Moore, Hunter Renfroe. They cleared house. And it's just truly a failure, not because of the move. The moves to waive a Harrison Bader and to waive the 6 players that the Angels waived financially makes sense. You're not competing, save on some salary. But when it comes to just general team construction. The Angels were fools for thinking they were competing to begin with. They went double down on this bad roster, gave up legitimate prospects for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez specifically, just to waive them months later because they can't make the playoffs. They were not a guaranteed team to make the playoffs when they made that move. So to me, it was just a bad investment. Shohei Ohtani is going to continue hitting home runs. I don't even know why he's still playing. Mike Trout's building a golf course with Tiger Woods. This Angels team is just not invested in playing baseball anymore. And I understand them letting those guys go. I'm happy that these guys are getting to play meaningful baseball in the places they were claimed that I'll get into in a second. But man, the Angels went from a team that was underperforming for years to probably the laughingstock of the baseball world this season. You hate to see it. But the teams that claimed these guys, they were the ones that really won because they didn't have to give up anything. And it was the Ohio Claim Fest. So these players got past the Kansas Cities and Oaklands of the world that just did not care about paying one of these guys. But they both got to Ohio. So Harrison Bader and Hunter Renfroe got claimed by the Cincinnati Reds, who are pushing in the NL Central to catch up to the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Cleveland Guardians ended up claiming all of the Angels pitchers, Matt Moore, Ronaldo Lopez, and Lucas Giolito. With Shane Bieber hurt, with them trading Aaron Savale, this is a chance for them to not give up anything and still try to push for the playoffs. The Twins have had the biggest lead they've had all season. It's going to be hard for the Guardians to catch up, but adding these pitchers for only salary and this point in the season, it's going to be a big swing in that division. I don't think either team, whether it's Cleveland or Minnesota, that comes out of that division is going to make much noise in the postseason. But these are teams in Ohio that gobbled up these players that were given up on. And now Hunter Renfroe is playing for his sixth team in 5 years. Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez are the first pair of teammates to play for 3 different teams in a season since the mid-'80s. This is absolutely wild what is going on right now. So the Ohio teams, if you're a Cleveland Guardians fan, if you are a Cincinnati Reds fan, I think you're really hyped because you didn't have to give up anything for these guys. It's just your waiver claim. You had to pay the rest of their salary for a month, maybe if there's postseason contracts as well, added on to bonuses and not what. But you're getting legit outfielders in Hunter Renfroe and Harrison Bader to that Cincinnati team. The Cleveland Guardians pitching staff was decimated, and you're getting all these pitchers added to it. I don't know how good they're going to be down the stretch, but the fact that the Angels gave up legitimate prospects for them, the Yankees gave up Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader, and they're able to just add them to their playoff pushes here in the beginning of September, late August. It is just amazing and something that I think could really swing the power dynamic of the league. I see Scott, Hugo, Will in the chat. Appreciate you guys for hopping in this Saturday. And I hope that you guys have been paying attention because there is a series currently going on. Third game is coming up between the 2 best teams in the NL, the class of the NL, having a 4-game set here. Braves, Dodgers. It is a possible NLCS preview. The 2 clear best teams in the National League have been playing some amazing baseball. In the first game of the series, Braves end up holding out to win 8-7. Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting a home run, becoming the first player in Major League Baseball history to hit 30 home runs and steal 60 bags in the same season. That was unbelievable. Mookie Betts has had the historic month of August that has brought him back from my preseason pick for MVP to possibly the lead candidate for the National League MVP award. And Mookie Betts August, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs. He was one of the first players to have a month of this caliber since Joe DiMaggio in 1939. So Mookie Betts having a historic month of August. They start off the month of September basically with this 4-game set against the Braves. They lose a tight one, 8-7. Then they get shoved by Max Fried in the second game. Betts is hitless. Freddie Freeman is 1 for 4, and the Braves win handedly. So if the Braves here, with Ronald Acuna hitting multiple base hits in each game, able to sweep or win this series in the game 3 here against the Dodgers, I think Ronald Acuna takes what was becoming a 4-horse race for the MVP award into Ronald Acuna back in the driver's seat like we saw in the first half of the season. Because Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman played really well in the first game, not so much in the second game. And Matt Olson is hitless so far in the series. So he is kind of falling off that podium. That 4-horse race is becoming Acuna distancing himself from Betts, who has distanced himself from Freddie Freeman. And Matt Olson's kind of just off the podium now at this point. So it is amazing baseball that we get to watch. The last game of the series, whether it's for a split or for the Dodgers fighting to just get one game from this Braves team, will be the young stud Bobby Miller against the old horse Charlie Morton. So this is just an amazing series of baseball. You have the 4 best players in the National League going at it. Amazing pitching staffs, amazing managers. The Braves just became a team that has 10 players with double-digit home runs. It has been unbelievable. This is the class of the National League. And if you're not paying attention, I totally think you should tune in to the last couple of games of this series. So this has been amazing. The National League is not as deep as the American League, but those top 2 teams are so exciting. When you look back here, the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, we like to throw it back down the third baseline. And it starts in the National League because there was a lot of things that I could have covered on this date, September 2nd. In baseball history, there was a lot of awesome moments, historic pitching outings, things that were definitely worthy of this spot. But there was one player who popped up twice, and it actually kind of was important. So on this date in 1955, Hall of Famer Ernie Banks became the first shortstop in Major League Baseball history to hit 40 home runs in a season. He hit this home run off of Curt Simmons in a win against the St. Louis Cardinals, his division foes. Young Ernie Banks as a shortstop revolutionized the position truly by having power from that spot. It was really a bunting, run-scoring, defensive position for many years. And even after Ernie Banks, the majority of shortstops still fit that description. But Ernie Banks, as a second-year player in 55, 40 home runs hit on this date. There had been a few that hit 30, but never a 40 home run shortstop. 10 years later, in 1965, Ernie Banks hit his 400th career home run, which before steroids, before juiced balls, before everybody swinging for the fences on every single at-bat. 400 home runs was an elite group. When Ernie Banks joined, he was only the 12th member of this club. Fast forward to 1999, where a shortstop in Cal Ripken hit his 400th career home run, becoming the 29th player to do so. So 17-player difference between 1965 and 1999. Hall of Fame shortstop to Hall of Fame shortstop. Cal Ripken also hit his 400th career home run on this date in 1999. So what does this mean? The shortstop position, the power in baseball, we've really seen it revolutionize. And I give Cal Ripken a lot of credit personally as my top shortstop in Major League Baseball history for revolutionizing that position as a big athlete who can hit for power instead of a small, fast guy playing shortstop. But really, this just kind of humbled me to look back at the great Ernie Banks. the first shortstop to hit 40 home runs. And I know he didn't play his whole career at shortstop. He moved over to first base. He had some leg issues, some back issues as well. But Ernie Banks, Cal Ripken, power hitting shortstops that revolutionized the game, where we now see the Dansby Swansons, Xander Bogaerts, Trey Turners, Carlos Correas get these mega deals as shortstops that can hit with power. It is amazing looking back at the history of baseball and seeing what players really crossed these barriers first and how the game has changed. Like I said, in 1965, the 12th player to hit 400 home runs versus in 1999, the 29th player to hit 400 career home runs. A lot has changed in that time, and a lot of milestones have been hit by players as we continue to pay attention to the stats, reward the stats, and especially with home runs, chase the stat. Here on the Solo Shot Sports Podcast, I keep track of all the solo home runs hit in the major leagues, and it's a shocking majority of the home runs hit in Major League Baseball because players aren't worried about getting walks anymore. The base hits with the shift restrictions have went up, but it's still not as high. There's not a ton more players hitting 300. Solo home runs are the most common home run in the sport, and they don't get a lot of love unless they're a walk-off home run or something that unties a game. Those home runs get love, but a lot of solo home runs kind of get looked at as whatever. I want you to throw strike one as a pitcher because analytically that gives you a better chance to get through this batter. Well, what if that hitter jumps on the first pitch and hits it over the fence? Well, it's only a one-run difference. You can overcome that. Our team can overcome that. I think that the solo home run is truly something that gets overlooked in baseball for that reason. All the launch angles, chasing for the home run. You are just looking at the game in a way where one run doesn't matter. But if you have good pitching and if you have a good offense, these things are really just numbers at the end of the day. Yes, you have a better chance of getting ahead in the count, of getting the runner out. But the pitchers in this game today, they aren't worried about going deep into games. They're worried about matchups. They're worried about analytics. And you're seeing these hitters take advantage of that. Jose Altuve, someone that gets ahead and hits home runs. He has been on a tear since he came back off the injured list. And there's been a lot of players, including Jose Altuve, who had his 2000th career hit this season, that have accomplished milestones. And that's kind of where I want to leave this show at today. Milestone moments so far from the season, because Jose Altuve recently got his 2000 career hit. Other players to get their 2000th career hit this season: Andrew McCutchen of the Pirates, whose next home run will be the 300th of his career, so definitely look out for that. Speaking of 300 career home runs, Bryce Harper was the most recent one to do it, but this season, Freddie Freeman and Nolan Arenado have also hit their 300th career home run. So Anthony Rizzo, 5 home runs away. JD Martinez also hit his 300th career home run this season. You're seeing these guys who are chasing these milestones and getting there. Every 100 home runs matters. And to me personally, when you start getting 300 plus home runs, that shows that you were a good power hitter consistently in your career to accumulate 300 home runs, because not every position is a slugging position. Steroids are banned, so you don't have those steroid numbers from 10 guys in the league anymore. So 300 home runs has become the new 400 for me. And seeing Mookie Betts hit his 250th, Aaron Judge hit his 250th, both guys are going to exceed 300 career home runs, enjoying the Nolan Arenados and the Freddie Freemans that have done it this season. Baseball is in an amazing place right now. There's a ton of milestones to be checked off. And while we don't look at necessarily 300 wins and 3,000 hits the same way, it's harder to get to those with the way the game's played analytically. There are still so many milestones to hit, and you have to adjust for the era. That's what WAR is so good about. I know people don't love WAR, but it gives you how valuable that player is compared to the average player of that year, of that era they played in. And you can see through WAR what players, despite them not having 400 or 500 home runs, maybe they have 300 to 400 home runs. Those players accumulate the WAR, are at the top of the game, and are the Hall of Famers and the great players of their era. So definitely look out for these milestones. Andrew McCutchen, Joey Votto hitting his 350th this year as well. There's so many guys, whether they're fringe candidates, future candidates, this thing will get there. I see an amazing comment there by Hugo, and that's awesome. Crazy that Aaron hit as many solo shots as K-Line hit total. That is amazing. I know the big stat for Hank Aaron is that if you take away all of his home runs, he'd still have over 3,000 career hits. But in general, that is insane. Al Kaline, another player, 1 home run short from 400 in his career. When you see the Andrew Jones Hall of Fame case, that he's one of a few select players with 400 home runs and double-digit gold gloves, you drop that to 300 and only a couple names get added, and Al Kaline is one of them. 399 career home runs for Al Kaline, 1 home run short, because they weren't really highlighting those numbers back in the day. Yes, you'd get celebrated for it, especially 500, but it wasn't as big of a chase. It wasn't as big of a legacy thought back when those players played. So really awesome, and just something to monitor, because we're not going to see too many players like Hank Aaron getting 700 plus home runs. Albert Pujols, I wanted him to get there last year so bad because I wasn't sure when we were going to see another person hit for that long, for that much power. But appreciate the players in the game they're playing. Closers used to go 3-4 innings sometimes to get the save. Now we have guys that are throwing nasty stuff at crazy velocity for like 10 to 15 pitches, 1 inning of work, and they're getting it done. Baseball will always have milestones, and while the milestone numbers may not always be the same, the meaning of it for that era, as the game continues to change with the pitch clock, with the lack of the shift, is something to kind of just soak in. So amazing time in baseball. All these players who have accumulated these milestones this season, I congratulate each and every one of you, putting feathers in your case for Cooperstown one day, where maybe me and Jake will talk about you over on Cracking Cooperstown. So I appreciate each and every one of you in the chat for spending part of your Saturday with me, spending part of your week with me if you're listening to this later. If you like the show, you got actionable information, something that you didn't know about, something that interested you, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help me greatly. For those listening over on Apple and Spotify, leave a review of the show. It helps, it goes a long way for me chasing this dream here, bringing you around the bases every single Saturday. I appreciate each and every one of you. Check out more baseball content at the app formerly known as Twitter at DominicMana44, and on TikTok at Solo Shot Sports. Will be dropping today's TikTok right after this show. Have a happy Solo Shot Saturday, and I will catch all of you guys in the next one. Peace.